everyone to part 1 of Citizen Science in the Academic Library. My name is Kelsey Coles, and I'll be your host today. Before we begin, I do have a few quick housekeeping items to cover. First of all, the link to the captioning for this webinar has been pasted in the chat box. You are all muted, and please use the chat box for any questions you may have throughout the webinar. Make sure you're sending to all participants. Let's see, we will be taking questions at the end of the webinar, so I will go through at the end and pull all of the questions that you've asked and ask them to the panelists. You will be emailed the captioned recording of this webinar once it's available, along with the slides and the resources guide. Today's slides and the resources guide can also be downloaded from the class page, which I think Tessa will link in the chat. You'll need to scroll down on that page to the course materials section, and then you'll see links to download those. And I'll also send those out along with the recordings once those are available. This webinar does grant 1 MLA CE hour if you're interested in that. To claim the CE, please complete the short evaluation that will open once you leave the webinar. If this doesn't open for you, it happens sometimes, just send me an email and I'll get you the link. Also, please do fill out the evaluation even if you're not looking for MLA CE, because this just gives us really valuable feedback on how to improve our offerings. So this is part 1 of a 2-part webinar series. Please do remember to register for part 2 if you haven't already. It's at the same time next week, and the link to part 2 will be pasted in the chat box now and at the end of the presentation. So before I hand things over to our speakers, let me take a moment to introduce you to NNLM in case you're not familiar with us. I know we have some folks in attendance today who are new to our webinars, which is super awesome and exciting. Welcome. So NNLM, or the Network of the National Library of Medicine, is a part of the National Library of Medicine, and we're dedicated to outreach, engagement, and training. One of our most popular services is the numerous free webinars we offer, like this one, and these are tailored to audiences ranging from academic librarians to public health workers, clinicians, researchers, and more. Our trainings cover a huge range of topics, and we're always coming up with new offerings. We also offer funding opportunities, free informational materials, on-demand trainings, and more to our member organizations. NNLM membership is completely free, so please visit nnlm.gov to learn more about us and what we can do for you. One of the areas NNLM has been working in for the past few years is citizen science and crowdsourcing. So I'm really excited to have 4 excellent speakers joining us today. We're going to talk about what citizen science is, how academic librarians can work to support faculty and students who are using citizen science in the classroom, and where you can learn more about citizen science and how to get involved. In part 2 next week, we'll delve into more depth and take a closer look at how to support new citizen science efforts on your campus. So first off, before I hand things over, we have 2 quick polls for you. Poll 1 is going to ask, have you participated in citizen science before, either as an individual or through your institution? So please take a moment to answer that poll. All right, let me share these results with you all. It's very interesting. It looks like many more of you have not participated than have, so that's really exciting. This is the perfect way to get introduced to citizen science. And then for our next poll, we'd like to know a little bit about why you're joining us today. So the key to these letters are on the slide. So A, I'm curious, I've never heard of citizen science. B, I want to learn how to support faculty who use citizen science. C, I want to introduce citizen science to faculty. D, I want to engage student groups on campus. E, I just love citizen science. And F, I'm looking for new ways to partner with the community. And feel free to pick as many of these as you think apply. Yes, sorry, Dan, there was no option G that they heard Dan was presenting, but that is a good option. This is interesting. Yeah, it looks like there's a really pretty even spread. Looks like choice E, you love citizen science, is the least popular answer. So hopefully by the end of today, maybe more of you would be inclined to say E once you learn a little bit more about it. All right. thank you for completing those polls. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Megan, who's our first speaker. So take it away, Megan.
Hi, everyone. I was definitely an E on that vote for I just love it, and I'm obsessed. So I am Megan Carlton. I am the science librarian at UNC Greensboro, and I'm the liaison to all these STEM areas at our university. My obsession with citizen science really began about 1.5 years ago, and now I'm involved in just an explosively growing number of projects. I'm currently working on creating new projects with some faculty at our campus, and also working with some other faculty on incorporating projects into undergraduate courses, whether they be in the STEM disciplines or not. So I get the fun part of introducing you to citizen science, and everybody that said they had not gotten to participate before will be able to say yes, they have after today. So just so we're all on the same page, here is my quick introduction to citizen science. Next slide, please, Kelsey. So according to Webster, it is scientific work undertaken by members of the general public, often in collaboration with or under the direction of professional scientists and scientific institutions. But more simply, it's just, next slide please, public participation in scientific research. But really, it can be so much more than that. I mean, citizen science is an invitation to everyone to participate in real science on any topics that they care about. You can find a project for you and for your interest. So a little bit of history of citizen science. So this public participation in scientific research is not a new concept. I'm only going to tell you about a couple to keep it brief, but lighthouse keepers began collecting data about bird strikes as long ago as 1880. The National Audubon Society started its annual Christmas bird count in 1900 that still continues today. And then in 1992, the NSF funded a series of projects through Cornell called Public Participation in Ornithology, and that also still continues today. If you don't know what ornithology is, that is the study of birds. So kind of what does that look like today? I know these are a lot of bird projects, but this participation can take a lot of different forms. So with that, we're going to do our first project. In order to really get a feel for citizen science, I do want everybody to participate in a quick activity. You can minimize the presentation, and then I will actually put this link in the chat. And I want you to go to this website. It's go.uncg.edu/snapshot. And on the right side of this project page that this link will take you to, you can click on Classify and just take a moment and go through the tutorial and then start classifying some images. I've put screenshots of what those buttons look like, so it'll help you kind of find them if you have trouble finding them on the page. But we're just going to take about 4 minutes to classify some images to just kind of see what this is about, and I will call you back to the presentation when that 4 minutes is up. Okay, if everyone wants to kind of make their way back into our windows, take a second to find the WebEx app and come back. I see a lot of comments about some of the animals that they've seen. And now everybody can say that they have participated in a citizen science project. Snapshot Serengeti is a really very prolific project on Zooniverse, and it's also on SciStarter, which my colleagues will talk about later. But now let's move on and talk about the technology that Snapshot Serengeti is using. So a game changer in the world of citizen science research has been camera traps. A camera trap is just a remotely activated camera that's equipped with either a motion sensor or an infrared sensor, or it could use a light beam as a trigger. And when something walks by any motion, it takes a series of pictures. In addition to applications in hunting and wildlife viewing, research applications include studies of nest ecology, detection of rare species, estimation of population size and species richness, as well as research on habitat use and occupation of human-built structures. Because they're non-invasive and easily operated, they don't require extensive training, and so they represent an excellent tool for incorporating both citizen science and undergraduate students in research opportunities in which the data collected will actually be used for scientific research and analysis. Digital image collection from camera trap surveys is a rapidly expanding method that is used to study rare and elusive species worldwide. However, as inexpensive digital cameras have proliferated, such surveys are increasingly limited by human processing capacity. Engaging citizen scientists to classify images can dramatically increase the amount of information researchers can extract from large data sets. Snapshot Serengeti provides a case study in engaging citizen scientists in rapidly and accurately processing large volumes of ecological imagery. By engaging these participants in processing every image, multi-species camera surveys could dramatically expand the scope of all conservation monitoring. So another project that I like to talk about, next slide, thank you. So kind of to help think about processing data and how participants can really contribute in huge ways, I always like to use the story of the Sloan Digital Sky Survey. The SDSS created one of the most detailed three-dimensional maps of the universe ever made. They have multicolor images of about 1/3 of the sky and spectra for more than 3 million astronomical units. The volumes of information being collected are staggering, and future projects promise data sets of ever-increasing size. When the new survey telescope begins operation in 2022, its camera will be able to collect 15 to 30 terabytes of data every night. And with such large volumes, really comes an increased need to be able to handle that data. So the initial images of 900,000 galaxies from SDSS were being classified by only a handful of people at Oxford, including a graduate student, Chris Lintott. Lintott calculated that one graduate student classifying images for 12 hours per day could only classify about 50,000 images over 1 month. He also realized that it really didn't take years of studying astrophysics to recognize a galaxy's type by its shape and structure. It just took a little bit of practice, and anyone from school children to retirees could do it. So instead of subjecting one person to such a huge task, what if he could distribute this task to volunteers? So in 2007, Lintott developed Galaxy Zoo and called upon volunteers to look at digital images of galaxies from the SDSS and classify them as spirals, ellipticals, or mergers. When Galaxy Zoo launched, participants classified 70,000 galaxies per hour in those first days and 50 million in the first year. And 13 years later, Galaxy Zoo is still running and still a project that you can participate in. So the same phenomenon happened with Snapshot Serengeti, the project that you just participated in. Engaging the public in processing the huge volume of images has allowed researchers to keep pace with the data coming in and expand the scope of conservation monitoring. Before engaging the public, conservationists often had to resort to classifying only those images containing their target species. So if they were only studying zebras, they only could use the images and they just threw out the rest of these pictures. So they were discarding enormous amounts of data that could otherwise be used for multi-species monitoring. As with many projects, new questions have arisen concerning the participants in these projects and the accuracy of the data being produced. Next slide, please. So unlike many other citizen science projects, Snapshot Serengeti volunteers are neither trained nor required to demonstrate species identification skills. So you saw from the tutorial that you do the quick tutorial and go on through and start classifying images. So some people worried about being wrong, and it's okay because they have so many images that they have been able to study how many people they need to classify each image for it to be correct. So they kind of crowdsource those answers. So they engage multiple volunteers for each picture, and then they aggregate the answers and produce highly accurate data. Aggregating multiple answers was critical for producing these high rates of accuracy for Snapshot Serengeti. So their data overall is 97.9% accurate. And so these aggregated volunteer answers are even more accurate than those of individual experts. So experts can make mistakes. A single field researcher flipping through hundreds of thousands of photographs can become fatigued and miss species or click on the wrong classifications. So the accuracy is going up as they're kind of crowdsourcing these answers. As found in many other projects, citizen scientists' accuracy differed by species. A subset of species was perfectly classified regardless of how many times they appeared in the data set. These tended to be visually striking, like giraffes, lions, or zebras, and are clearly identifiable even to inexperienced volunteers. So the key to success in their accuracy was the use of multiple classifiers for each image. The images achieved approximately 90% accuracy just with 5 classifiers and 95% accuracy after 10. So with that, we can kind of transition into our next speaker, Danica, to talk about how you can use some of these projects in undergraduate courses.
Hi, thanks. All right, so I'm going, well, hello, I'm Danica Lewis. I'm the Collections and Research Librarian at NC State University Libraries. I'm going to talk about the ways that the library can support citizen science in courses where there's already some existing integration or relationship with citizen science in the syllabus. As you've heard previously, and we'll hear repeatedly next week, we're going to have another webinar, and there I'll talk more about the sort of onboarding experience of being an academic library and helping interested instructors incorporate new citizen science activities or even create sort of new boutique projects for their courses and other courses to participate in. But this week, it's all about enhancing and expanding existing projects in courses. Next slide, please. So I'm going to draw on 2 specific projects for examples as we talk about library support for courses that already have integrated citizen science to a greater or lesser extent. Spoiler alert, these projects also resulted in new course integrations where one instructor was already doing something, the library helped expand and promote it, and suddenly we had a lot of other instructors who also wanted to do something. So we'll be talking about those more next week. So the Citizen Science Challenge was a multi-year program run by the libraries where we partnered with researchers and instructors and campus organizations to do science on campus with our full campus community. So students, staff, faculty, everyone was involved. There were a lot of different factors at play for why these projects were put forward as potential collaborations for the libraries and for this program, but they all started with an integration with existing courses and course objectives. So our first challenge in 2016 was an on-campus application of an existing course project where a mammalogy course deployed camera traps in a local state park, and they'd been doing that for a long time, but they were interested in the urban ecology of our campus, and so we organized a citizen science project where participants could deploy camera traps on campus. So the second challenge, again, sought to expand an existing course assignment, which was a metagenomics course, which was sampling and sequencing environmental microbes of interest. And we expanded that by having citizen scientists collect even more samples, and ultimately we involved 5 more courses in that project. So both of these projects already existed. There were already courses where students were setting camera traps and swabbing drains, but the libraries were able to bring some really unique services and resources towards enhancing the experience of students already involved and then helping loop in more courses and more activities. Thanks. Next slide. So starting just sort of basically with customized library instruction, right? Everyone does library instruction, but by tailoring instruction to the projects or specific aspects of citizen science research, we're able to impart key information literacy and search skills while making instructors' lives easier when dealing with the unique challenges of a citizen science research project. So one of the existing course integrations that we've had for going on 2 or 3 years now is an English 101 course. So it's an introductory writing course that everyone has to take when they come to the university. So they were using citizen science projects to teach scientific writing and also to frame the concept of writing to specific audiences. So students would identify a project, participate in it, just like we did right now with Snapshot, and then they would research, they would find peer-reviewed literature about the topic of the project they participated in, and then write sort of a public communication piece talking about the project and the research behind it. So we were able to do a lot of the traditional library instruction work with that, but there were also some unique challenges for that assignment because finding articles on a scientific topic is something we do all the time. Finding articles on an ongoing citizen science project can be kind of challenging because the citizen science part typically, and there's tons and tons of variation across the spectrum, but typically a lot of what happens in citizen science is that data collection and data classification work. So that's nowhere near the end of the research life cycle, right? So for a lot of the projects people were participating in, there may or may not have been sort of those peer-reviewed publications put out by that research team about that project. So it was, how do we look at a project, think of the research questions behind it or the research questions it could help to answer, and then search for those things. There was also sort of a level of help we needed to do with navigating technical jargon. And this was part of their assignment, was being exposed to the type of very technical writing that happens in the sciences. But again, these are first-year students. This is usually a course that they take in their first semester in college, and it can be really, really intimidating to jump straight into peer-reviewed computer science research, right? So we also did a lot of instruction specifically to help new researchers, new students deal with technical writing and figure out how to parse things and how to search for things. We also were able to customize existing library workshops. So we had a series of workshops on using the NCBI BLAST and Entree searching systems. Shout out to NLM for fantastic resources that are just super, super useful. But so we were able to take these existing workshops and then use the sequence data that we collected as a campus, right? So we had students going out, collecting swabs, and then we had different groups of students processing and sequencing those samples. And we were able to take that data that they found and they made and use that in a workshop for how to search these databases, how to align sequences, how to use these fantastic free tools that they have access to. And students cared a whole lot more. This is a shot from one of those workshops, and it was a packed room. Students were following along and working on this live data analysis because they were curious about it. They'd gone out and decided where they wanted to sample, and they wanted to know and find out what they discovered. And so boosted the impact of library instruction. It also boosted the impact of instruction for the courses that had been participating in that, because it was a chance for students to sort of take control of their learning experience. And also there was this greater sense of responsibility, right, to process samples that someone else took. They were a lot more careful about it, and it felt, you know, way more real. Next slide. So beyond sort of instruction, which is, you know, library bread and butter, even more classic library are resources and lending things. For the camera trap project, you know, when we first started working with the instructor, he said, well, it's one thing to give camera traps to my students in my course because, you know, I know them, I can track them down, I can keep track of what's going on. One, I don't have enough camera traps to give to everyone on campus. And two, how am I going to distribute them? What will I have to have them come to office hours? And how do I get them back and keep track of who has what? And it turns out, surprise, libraries are super good at giving things to people and keeping track of where things are and getting them back. And so the library was able to act as a resource hub for the camera trap project, as well as for the microbial sampling project. We were able to distribute and collect kits at the library as a central location. So just the basic getting things to people was something that the library was able to help with in a very, very game-changing kind of way. We also had a lot of traditional resources. So we made book displays, and we helped set up course reserves and sort of like fun reading lists. If you're curious about urban ecology or North American mammals, we were able to do a lot of that, journals and databases, sort of training, how to search for things. We also were able to help with funding. I specifically work in collections, so I'm very comfortable going to people and asking, hey, can you cut us a break here? Or, hey, what can we do? This is an expensive resource. So, we were able to use library grant and tech lending budgets and sponsorships and support from the camera trap vendors to get extra camera traps for the library's collection that we now just have available all the time for anyone who's interested. We were able to add equipment from a whole bunch of other courses for a whole bunch of other projects as well. We've got a rain gauge for the Cocoa Rods project. We thought that no students would ever choose to do this project because you have to go out and take your measurements every day at 7 a.m. And the idea of a college student willingly waking up at 7 a.m. to measure rain precipitation seemed just absurd to us. But these actually have circulated really well. It turns out the barrier to participating in that project wasn't waking up at 7 a.m. It was having the tools that you'd need to be able to do this or to feel like you can do this. We were also able to just sort of help relieve that burden from instructors, and there have been some challenges. One thing that we were trying to solve before we all went remote was how to distribute glutamine to students. So glutamine was a component necessary for an ant picnic citizen science project that's developed by NC State researchers and run by the Rob Dunn Lab on campus. And it's really great and fun to do, and you just sort of study, what food preference in urban ants. But one of the items they wanted to test was glutamine, which is available as sort of just a health supplement. You can buy it in, like those powdered, like a jar of protein, but it's glutamine. But then how do you distribute that to students? And a challenge we're still working on is how does the library give like teaspoon-sized baggies of white powder to students without it looking suspicious? Like, it's for science. It's for really cool, exciting, legitimate science, but there are definitely some challenges that we still need to figure out with our technology lending programs. But they've been really successful, and we're really committed to still doing that. So another area that the library can help with Sorry, next slide. Thanks, Kelsey. So another aspect the library can help with are sort of this idea of final presentations and engagement with the work. So this is an image from the student final presentation from the mammalogy course, where those students in that course got up and in a library space put together their final presentation, and it was not a course this big. We had other people come in and sit in and watch, folks who'd participated in deploying their own cameras or who'd heard about the project and were curious about what was going on campus. But so students were able to do that comparison of local state park data with data collected on campus and show that different species used different areas locally in different ways. They were also able to present to their peers. So it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I have to do this class presentation. They were doing, it was this big presentation, the library promoted it, there were emails and posts on e-boards, and we've got that huge communication infrastructure already set up in the library. And so it was this big campus-wide event, and it really reinforced the idea that this was like capital S science, right? They learned something new, they did science, and that sort of effect has really demonstrable effects on persistence in STEM, as well as just a personal sense of like science efficacy, that they understand science, they can do it, it's something that's for them. And then there was that sort of, the flip side of that was the participants, just not enrolled in the course, just heard about it and thought it would be cool, went out and deployed a camera trap. They also did science, right? And they didn't have to be in a course to do science. And they were able to build this connection to campus and the surrounding area, and they felt like they knew what species were around and sort of what was going on, which is also, again, great for persistence in STEM, for persistence in higher education. So all of this, sort of the campus engagement and being able to really promote citizen science and highlight what's going on campus really just sort of makes science like quote unquote real, right? So it's something that these students have done, something that they could do in the future, even if they don't stay in STEM, even if they don't keep taking courses. It's something that they can do just, as a hobby, as a private person interested in doing science. It's something that they can pursue personally and professionally as well. Next slide, please. So the last, but to me, the most impressive outcome of what we've been able to do on campus has been this network that's sprung up between faculty and courses and citizen science. So the libraries are, in a lot of ways, like a hub. We work really hard to make sure that we're hearing about what's going on with our researchers and what they're studying, and we have really well-established communication channels out to let campus know what's going on with us and what sort of programming we're offering. So to highlight the effect of this, our 2018 project started with one undergraduate researcher and one metagenomics course who, paired together. It was one faculty member supervising both of these things, interested in doing this. We sent out a couple of email blasts promoting this, saying, hey, we're going to make kits available. If you're interested, contact the libraries and we'll hook you up. And then we got a ton of responses from other instructors. So the first year writing program contacted us saying, hey, we'd love for our students to participate in this. We had environmental sciences courses that contacted the library saying, hey, we want to do this as a course assignment. We had actually really excitingly, from the College of Education, a course on informal science education. We said, hey, can some of our grad students partner with you to study the effects of participation in these projects? So then we were able to provide everyone who participated with really cool outcomes data on what it meant to their students to participate in this and how it changed their sense of science efficacy and whether or not science was, quote unquote, for them, right? And then we had a microbiology course that still uses the data we generated in their course instruction to talk about sequencing data and identifying microbial species. So there's been really long and involved collaborations. 2 years later, this is still going strong. And then finally, it's not a course integration, but it's an absolute bonus. The project that we started in 2016 with the camera traps is also still going strong. It's now a statewide project involving the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, as well as a network of public libraries. After working with us, the instructor for that course was interested in studying deer populations across the state and thought, hey, everyone on campus was so excited about these camera traps. I wonder if other people in the state would be interested in doing this. And it was so easy to work with the academic libraries on campus. He went out on a limb and contacted public librarians to see if they were interested. And of course, public libraries are very interested in STEM engagement and STEM outreach and STEM projects. And so they jumped right on it. And now we've got this really cool statewide project that folks can participate in. So if you're interested in finding some projects and getting involved and getting things going on your campus, we have Dan and Caroline next to talk about that.
Woo, thank you. So, yeah.
So we're going to kind of tag team here. So I'll introduce myself first. I'm Dan Stanton. I am a research and engagement librarian at Arizona State University Library and also part of the SciStarter team. And what I want to make clear is that for over 16 years, I was a government information librarian. I am not a science librarian, and yet I am involved in citizen science, so it can be done. I'll let Caroline introduce herself.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Caroline Nickerson. I'm on the SciStarter team. I do program management, so I help out with our library program, with public libraries, and increasingly academic libraries, as well as with our corporate volunteer programs, our programs with the Girl Scouts, programs with lifelong learning communities, so people over the age of 50, and everything in between. And the best part is when all these programs come together and you start seeing collaboration from all these different sectors of life. And kind of like Dan, I didn't study science when I was an undergraduate. I actually got roped into this whole world through a citizen science project and ended up studying in grad school and all this fun stuff. So you never know where citizen science will take you, and I hope you all keep an open mind as you hear our presentation. So next slide, please. So I'm going to kick us off by talking about SciStarter. So I saw from the poll results that a lot of you hadn't even done citizen science before. Well, now you have, after doing Snapshot, one of the Snapshot Safari projects today. But if you want to discover more citizen science projects, you can go to SciStarter. SciStarter.org is an inventory of projects, tools, and events. So we view ourselves as the bridge between the citizen science projects and the volunteers who want to help them. So people can actually have SciStarter accounts to keep track of the projects they join, the events they save, and the tools that they may bookmark. So a citizen science project is usually an ongoing effort, kind of like Snapshot Safari, which you all did earlier. A citizen science tool could be something like an air quality monitor. You can search those on SciStarter too. And a citizen science event, well, you're in one right now. This event was actually listed on SciStarter with the RSVP linking over to NNLM. So SciStarter is kind of your place for discovery. And we have these strategic partnerships with, for example, Discover Magazine, PBS, Science Friday, and STA to help spread the word about citizen science and get as many people doing it as possible. So we'll go to the next slide, please. And we also want to introduce people to citizen science, which is why we have all these different programs. And we actually partnered with instructional designers at Arizona State University, the National Library of Medicine, and a number of other libraries through our NNLM, the network of the National Libraries of Medicine program, to have an introduction to citizen science tutorial, which is about to become bilingual. But if you go to scistarter.org/NLM, you can find a link to this tutorial, and we want you to use it. We create all these things at SciStarter because we want them to be used. So it takes about 30 minutes to click through this tutorial and learn about the what, the how, the who, and the why of citizen science to get an introduction to the field. And it's very much meant for a general audience. So for many of you, I know there are a lot of library staff members in the audience and librarians. Feel free to use this tutorial to introduce this to your patrons and to your communities. And there's a certificate at the end too, which is always fun for people. So we'll go to the next slide. I'll let Dan take this part.
Okay, sure. And I'd just like to say, kind of with regards to the tutorial, one of the projects I've been involved with at Arizona State with SciStarter is we have worked with public libraries to pilot citizen science kits in public libraries. So we have these self-contained kits in there. And we've been working for about 3 years now with them and working through all kinds of issues. And one of the things that they said was, you know, it's still kind of hard to get that concept of citizen science out to the public. And that, in response to that, was that awesome tutorial that will kind of walk you through what it is, how to do it, and specifically some NLM things. So I just wanted to give another plug for that. So back to SciStarter. As academic librarians, we value the ability to limit the search results that come in and to hone in on the right resources. Usually for patrons, it could be for faculty. So at scistarter.org, the SciStarter Project Finder can allow you to narrow down the over 3,000 citizen science projects and activities, and you can do it by location and by broad topic. For instance, I'm in Arizona, but I can actually do projects, ocean projects, if they are online. Some of the same things like you didn't all really go to the Serengeti, but you're doing it. So even a desert dweller like I can get to the beach once in a while for citizen science. Or you can go to the Advanced Finder, and I don't know if you can see on this slide, but you can limit in other ways. So you can do something that has like a daily activity. So if you're somebody that walks your dog every day and you're looking for a little something else to do, you can find citizen science projects that take that amount of time and that you can do there, things that you can do on a hike, things that are exclusively at night. Project characteristics, whether it's federally funded, it's just online. And for a lot of folks, what's important is, are there classroom materials? So if you see there on the example project finder on the screen there, I did a search for science policy as a topic, a SciStarter affiliate, which they have, they work closer with SciStarter in providing data back and forth to the project managers. And then in terms of classroom materials or grade level, it's college level. So there were 8 items that came up with that, Globe at Night being one of them. So just wanted to show you there, as you're working with faculty or if you work in a particular discipline, you can get in there and kind of look around, see what's in there, what is the project trying to do, and maybe work it into, with your faculty to work it into a particular course. So next slide, please. So here we have the scistarter.org/NLM site that Caroline mentioned before. And so this is another thing that we've done with SciStarter with different partners. Obviously, NLM wants to do projects that are kind of health-related and environmental health research or human health. And so we can curate sources for people to go to, so that you have one link and people can go to these sources that we know are kind of tried and true in that area, and people can get involved. Now, NLM was also a sponsor with us at SciStarter for the past couple of years with Citizen Science Day, and then just recently in April, Citizen Science Month. So we worked for almost a year working up to having these in-person library events, and then COVID happened in March, and everything kind of closed down and went south. And so we pivoted a lot of the work being done by Caroline and shifted a lot of events to online, basically even doing some events online like we did a little earlier, but the ability to pivot that way very quickly. So these projects and this site are featured by NLM, and it has links to the tutorial, as Caroline mentioned. So next slide, please.
Yeah, and really a really fun fact about that NLM page that you just saw, each of those projects are featured in our summer reading program within NLM. So we're partnering with public libraries across the country, and it was open to academic libraries too, but the public libraries really jumped on this. After 5 months, we are basically doing webinars every week until the beginning of September. And next week is Eterna, an RNA project where you can play an online puzzle to help develop new medicines, including some for COVID. So if you go to that scistarter.org/NLM page, you are going to be able to RSVP for all those summer reading events too. If you can't get enough of this and you want more, that's the place to go. I also put in the chat links to our new list feature, which is a fun way to optimize the project finder to make lists of your favorite projects and track the number and frequency of contributions. For example, if you're doing a program with students or faculty and you want some analytics, the list feature is a free way to get those for different affiliate projects on SciStarter. And there's also the scistarter.org/education page. So all of that being said, we're looking at the tools database right now, which is another thing on SciStarter where you can discover physical and other tools for different disciplines. And you can also add them here, which I think is particularly relevant for libraries. And if your library lends out tools, you can add it to this database as well, so people could search and say, oh, you know, I'm really close to, you know, the UNC Chapel Hill, and it looks like, oh, this would be open to me as a member of the community. I know different universities have different rules about that, but if you wanted to open this up to the public and have it searchable on SciStarter, this is the place to do it. So next slide. All right, Dan.
Back to me. So in addition to SciStarter, one of the things that we're trying to do, in fact, is announce this now. We just got awarded an IMLS grant yesterday to kind of expand our libraries and citizen science project nationally. We'll be moving kind of the KITS project and the promotional materials, and we're kind of moving out nationally. And one of the things that we worked into the grant is creating a citizen science library network. So in my mind, and we'll talk about this in a minute, what you can do at your own university is, if you have the ability to do library guides, this is a snapshot from the one I have at Arizona State. You know, you can put information in there. You can start out small with what is citizen science. You can find lots of videos, resources, other associations and organizations that do it. You can put in Twitter feeds, things like that. Start building that ability for people to find citizen science on your campus, and you know, you can share that with faculty, point them to it as you're working with them. And then next slide, please. So back to the citizen science library network. So we are working on kind of this national, I hope it would be like a community of practice. And you've heard from our previous speakers about how citizen science can work in the university. And so some of the things that we went over, items circulate. You can do project curation from SciStarter or other sites, building in science literacy, ties to public school and special libraries, student clubs and researcher networks. And so at the bottom there is a email address. If you have a chance, if you are interested in getting involved in the Citizen Science Library Network at the ground level, that's part of this grant that we just got yesterday, and I did not want to miss out on the opportunity to get folks involved. If you are, we'll be moving towards this in the near future. And then I'm hoping that the Citizen Science Library Network will be kind of like what we're doing now. People will be able to get together and share their experiences, their best practices, tools that they've used, ways of approaching faculty or ways of supporting faculty, and getting involved and maybe even starting projects. I know Arizona State University is big on community engagement, that the university is part of the community, and a lot of research should be done in the community. And we all know that citizen science is science by the community, for the community. Can libraries get involved in that? And again, if we've got this network where we have school libraries as a part of it, public libraries as a part of it, special libraries as a part of it. We've got Phoenix Zoo here and there, in the botanical gardens, things like that. Places you may not think of when you think of, kind of the other big libraries. If we could all kind of get together and support each other, that's kind of Dan's vision going forward. And so hopefully you will be interested in getting involved in that and moving forward. Next slide, please. So one of the big things that came out of our work with public libraries was we created initially a librarian's guide to citizen science, which geared towards public libraries and shared some resources, some best practices, and then people got more involved, more interested in it, and so we expanded it to community guide, because there's community groups that are interested in citizen science. And so this publication is available along with a lot of other free resources at scistarter.org/library-resources. And one of the things that we're looking to do is to add an academic library section to this in the near future. So please stay tuned for that. And then I am going to go ahead and pass on to the last slide, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for those excellent talks. It looks like we only have about 2 minutes left, and the one question that was posed in the chat, I think, could probably be better addressed in more than 2 minutes. So I'm going to have anyone who posted a question in the chat, please send me an email, and I will direct your question to the speakers, and we will get you probably a more informative response than you could get in our last minute and a half here. Again, please join us next week for part 2. Tessa has just pasted the link in the chat. We're going to be going into more details about getting citizen science started on your campus and working with the faculty who are interested in doing that. And again, I will be sending out the recording, the slides, and the resources guide to you at the email you registered for this webinar with. This might take a couple weeks to process, so please be patient. And also, please do fill out the evaluation that will open when you leave this session. And if it doesn't open for you, send me an email, and I will send you the link to that. So thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us, everyone, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel, or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.